I check. Okay. Yeah, you are able to hear me, right? Okay. So today we will be discussing about HTTP methods in ESP32. There are different HTTP methods. One is HTTP GET method and another one is POST method. So you have any idea about GET and POST methods, Sri Krishna? Any idea about GET and POST methods? So actually there are so many methods in HTTP like GET, put, post, delete. So there are so many methods. So today we will be discussing about GET and POST method. Okay. So yeah. So but before learning about the first we need to know that whenever you are opening any website, yeah, someone trying to join. Yeah. So today we'll be discussing about get and post method, right? In ESP32. So see, you can transmit some data. Let's say you're having some web page. For example, let's assume that Shikarani want to build something like a health monitoring system. Okay, Shikarani wants to build something like a health monitoring system. Let's say like she want to monitor her oxygen saturation. Okay, and she is having an ESP32 module with her, and ESP32 is containing with SpO2 oxygen. I mean, uh, oxygen saturation sensor. Okay, SpO2, we call it as SpO2, oxygen saturation sensor. So she connected the sensor to ESP32. So you know, whenever you connect sensor with microcontroller, you know that you will be able to read the data. It could be your oxygen related, right? When you place your finger, of course the data is not accurate because we ourselves are not perfect. Okay, all are imperfect. uh, See, actually whenever we born, so all our senses, it could be our eyes and everything, all are imperfect. So everyone is born with imperfect, everyone is having imperfections. No one is perfect. Similarly, electronics, when we come to electronics, all the sensors are also actually imperfect. Okay, there is no perfect sensor. So but the accuracy is a little bit, if you go with some higher more enhanced modules, so there might be different modules may be having higher accuracy and precision, but 100% I can give you assurance that there would be no perfect sensor. So now similar, let's assume she got some SpO2 sensor, maybe some cheap sensor. Okay, let's say, okay, assume that if you put your finger, it can detect your oxygen saturation percentage. So now you want to send this data to a website. Let's assume like uh, Shikarani, or else what shall we give the name? So let's give something like allinonehealth.com. Okay, allinonehealth.com. So now you want to send this data, your oxygen saturation percentage data, from the ESP module. Yeah, someone trying to join. Yes, Kundan. So actually, Kundan, today we will be discussing about uh, get and post methods in ESP32 module. So these get and post methods are used to send data to any kind of web page or URL. If you have any URL, you can send some data from the ESP32 to an URL, which we actually call it as, technically we call it as an endpoint. Okay, endpoint means we also call it as API endpoint. To be more specific, we usually call that URL as API endpoint. So that endpoint can accept the response which is coming from the ESP32, and it can store this data in database. So what kind of database? There are so many variants in database. You can take a PHP MyAdmin. You can use a MySQL database. There are so many databases. Or you can store the information in cloud, Arduino cloud, or else there are so many cloud providers. So or else you can take Firebase as well. You can store data in Firebase also. So let's assume that Shikarani is trying to build some medical device. So she got some oxygen saturation detector sensor, SpO2 sensor, and she connected with the ESP32. Now ESP32 can read oxygen data. If you place your finger, it can calculate the oxygen percentage, saturation percentage, and it need to send this data uh, to the URL endpoint, API endpoint. And all these things should happen in real time. Okay, it should happen in real time. So For that, we need to use some databases, which we call it as RTDB, okay, real-time database. So what does RTDB mean? RTDB means real-time database. So you need to integrate that URL with any database. So the best option that everyone usually prefers is the Firebase. It is powered by Google. So Google is providing RTDB, which means Firebase real-time database. You can integrate your website with the real-time database, which is provided by Google, or there are some Arduino or some cloud providers, cloud storage providers. Let's assume like Arduino Cloud. You can also store, there is something like a data storage bucket. So you can, with the help of that, you can store the information in the cloud as well. So that means continuously at each and every second to second, the oxygen saturation must be detected, and it must be transmitted, must be sent to an API endpoint, URL endpoint, and from the API URL endpoint or API endpoint URL, from that URL you need to upload this data. You need to uh, insert this data in by executing a query, okay, which we call it as, if you are let's say if you are using SQL, MySQL language, structured query language, you need to execute SQL query, and this data will be stored in the database. Let's assume you are using your local storage, I mean local database like phpMyAdmin, or else if you don't want to use your local due to some limitations, if you want to go with another things like Firebase is there, which is the best option. You can store, again you need to transmit this particular data which you received at the endpoint to the Firebase system. So once if it is sent to the Firebase, it will be added into the, it will be inserted into the table, and the data will be stored in the table. And again you need to create one more web page. So one web page is to accept the response, and another web page is to display the data. Okay, so if you want, you can create only a single web page which can accept the response and which can display the data, but usually that's not preferable. You need to have separate things to isolate. You need to isolate the action page. See, whatever the web page or API endpoint URL, okay, whatever the URL which, I mean whatever the web page which is accepting the incoming responses from the ESP32, we call it as the action page. Okay, we call it as action page. So you need to have, you need to isolate this action page. It is not necessary. So if you want, you can isolate this action page. The action page is responsible for reception of data, and you can create one more web page where you can show this data which is received in a visual, in a rich result view. That means you can show it in something like a tabular from graphical representation, or you can add some filter options, like between this, how the oxygen saturation is varying with respect to time within over a period of time. Like let's say there should be an option like you can choose from start date or end date, or start time and end time. So you can add filtering options. So you can do like that. Okay, so all for all this to implement, the first thing is data. Without data you can do nothing, because if you are having data, then you can analyze the data, you do some interpretations, and you can perform analysis, you can do analysis. So but if you have no data, you can't do anything, you cannot show visualization, right? So if you have data, you can show in a pictorial form, or some graphical representation, you can do that. But without having any data set, you can't do anything. So the first thing is, we need to understand how to transmit this data, the sensor data. See, this is actually important concept which is actually taught in the last sessions of the ESP32 course. Okay, actually this should be actually the last concept, but I don't want to get you bored with the complete theory, so I changed the schedule slightly. So this is very essential and very important, because I'm sure that many of you might don't know how to do this. Okay, probably it's a new concept for you, are working on this for the first time maybe. So like this, so to transmit the data, there are so many methods. Okay, so how many of you know about HTML, hypertext markup language? How many of you know HTML? Raise your hands. HTML language, very very basic one. I'm not asking about Python, Java. So Ibrahim, you don't know HTML? Yeah, Kundan, you know HTML? Doc type HTML, HTML header, body, meta tags. So many tags are there. Title tag. Ibrahim has no idea on HTML. Okay, okay. So actually HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all these are used to create websites, web applications, or else websites. So it is a part of web technology. I mean, uh, web technologies, web development, creating websites, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So HTML, CSS, all these are front end, whereas PHP, MySQL, these are back end. Okay, these all are part of web technology. So SQL, MySQL is used to integrate databases with the backend system. If you want to integrate some data, let's say if you are creating an account in Facebook, so you enter your details and all the things, and you create your password. So whenever you save these, yeah, whenever you save your details, all your credentials and your information, private confidential information, all these are secure, encrypted and stored in database. Okay, so there would be different mechanisms for encryption as well. We call it as salting mechanism. So basically salting, there are so many cipher algorithms through which we can encrypt the passwords in a secure way, and then we store, because we cannot directly store the raw password into the database. That is not always because whenever if someone got access to DB, maybe in some way or any other way, then he may go through these credentials, he may he may scrap this data, and he may use these login credentials wrongly. So that's why credentials must always be encrypted before directly storing into the DB. Okay, so if you know these web technologies, then this session will be easy for you. If you don't know those things, then the session would be difficult for you. You cannot understand easily. However, I still try to explain in as much as simple as possible so that you can understand at least. Even though I do not give assurance that everyone will be able to execute it. Okay, because see, when electronics means it's not only just electronics. You need to know everything. It is interrelated with all other things. So if you know everything, then you can form a you will be having a crystal clear idea on the overflow, how to perform the different tasks. So if you don't know these kind of fundamentals, then it will be difficult for you. However, still I will try to explain the fundamentals, how can we achieve this thing. But I do not give you assurance that everyone will be able to execute it. Those who have a knowledge on those languages, they will be able to do it. But still others you can understand. Okay, yeah. So now coming to the data transmission from the ESP32 to API endpoint URL, this data can be transmitted in multiple methods. Okay, which we call it as HTTP methods. So just remember the technical name, it is called as HTTP methods. So there are so many HTTP methods. Okay, before that I would like to ask you, so when you visit a wrong web page, which we call it as a broken link, incorrect URL, so it will display something like 404 not found. How many of you observed it? 404 not found. Yeah, anyone else? Kundan or Ibrahim, Shikarani? 404 not found. See, I will show you. If you visit an incorrect website, yeah, one more raised your hand. I couldn't see you. Can you raise your hand again? Someone else raised hand. Okay. So if I just open a website, if I just open some random website, I mean, let's say if I open google.com slash whatever, maybe something dot txt. See, 404, that's an error. The requested URL was not found on the server. That's all we know. So what does 404 mean here? What does 404 mean? Any idea? What does 404 mean? Yeah.
Like that site is not been registered on that Firefox.
Just give me a second. Actually, my device audio is little bit low, or else let me turn on the volume booster. Yeah. Now can you repeat?
That URL or that website is not registered on the Firefox.
Okay. So, okay, I will tell you in a more detailed way. So, actually, this 404 is actually called as HTTP response code. Okay, there are so many HTTP response codes. There are different kinds of different categories. I will show you types of HTTP response codes. There are so many categories. Okay, so like there are informational, successful response, redirectional. See, there are 5 categories of http response codes. So just try to I request everyone to listen this session attentively, because if you miss one point, then you will not understand other things. Okay, so there are 5 categories of http response codes. Total 5 categories. The first one is the informational response, informational responses. That's the first category. And next category is successful responses. Third one redirectional. Fourth one client error. Fifth one server error. When you open a website, okay, uh, if let's say you want to perform some operation on that website, and if the operation is successful, so to indicate success, see, there are these these codes. Let's say 404 error, right? It falls under this category, 400 to 499. So that means client error response. See, actually, if you try to open a web page or a file, particular file, which is actually not present in the server, so is it the mistake of the server or is it your mistake? You are trying to access a particular file which is actually non-existing in the server. So do you think it is the mistake of the client? Client means you, server means the particular website you are trying to access. Okay, so do you think is it the mistake of the server provider or is it the mistake of the client?
Client.
Yeah, client, because from server end there is no mistake. If the server is actually having that file, he will serve, I mean the server will serve the same file. But if the file is not there, if it is not existing, if you are trying to access a non-existing file, how can a server will serve you? Okay, so that's why it is returning 404 error. That means error is not from my end, it's from your end. You are trying to access a non-existing document, so it's not mistake from my end, it's mistake from your end, so you need to fix it. Okay, so that means it's a client side error. So that means, so from this we can understand that http response codes are very essential. See, if you want to troubleshoot, if the web page is not working, let's say, okay, any web page, if someone asks you how can you troubleshoot, what is the why the web page is not functioning, it is returning some status code, right? Then you need to analyze the status code. Some from the status code you can able to determine whether the error is from the server side or is it from the client side. Okay, so the only thing that you need to determine is whether the response code returned by the web page is server, is from server end or is it from client end. So these are the 5 categories of the http response codes. The first category is the informational responses, which begins from 100 to 199, and again 200 to 299 are successful responses, and 300 to 399 are redirectional messages. See, how many of you seen that when you try to open one web page, it will redirect you to the another web page directly. Okay, if you try to open one web page, it will directly redirect you to another web page. So how many of you observed that? Yeah. See, there are two kinds of redirection. I'm not talking about the anchor tag, hyperlink. So hyperlink means, see, if I open Google, see, if I just open google.com, or else I'm just typing something randomly. Yeah. See, if I just click here, see, this particular link is there, right? So this is another kind of redirection that we call it as the hyperlink. Hyperlink redirection, or using an anchor tag, a tag in HTML. I'm not talking about that particular thing. If you click on that link, it will take you to the another thing. I'm not talking about that. If you are trying to open a web page directly, the URL will be redirected to the another URL. You are trying to access one web page, it will directly redirect you to the another web page. That particular redirection I'm talking about. Those redirections are of different types. Permanent redirect, temporary redirect. There are different kinds of redirects. So during that redirection, this redirectional message will be displayed. Okay, so that means, is it a temporary redirect or permanent redirect? See, redirections can be of due to different reasons, so that will be explained in the status code. See, when you are trying to access a web page, it will directly redirect you, but you don't know what kind of redirection is happening, what are all the stuff you don't know, because you are trying to access one page but you are landed in another web page. You are trying to access something, you are landed in another web page, but behind that status codes are everything are working. Okay, So when you troubleshoot them, when you try to analyze them with there is something called HTTP status code inspector. With the help of this it's like an inspection tool. With the help of this inspection tool, you can able to determine what is the response code, HTTP response code, which is returned by the server. Okay, I will also demonstrate you in the practical session, in the lab session, upcoming labs, or else maybe in the today's session only. Okay, so during those circumstances, these redirectional messages will be appeared. They will be sent. Okay, so responses are grouped into five classes or categories: 100 to 199 informational responses, 200 to 299 successful responses, 300 to 399 redirectional messages, and 400 to 499 client side errors, and finally 500 to 599 are server errors. Okay, so these are, see, actually right now I'm showing you something called MDN, Mozilla Developer Notes. Okay, Mozilla Developer Notes. So these particular details are not actually completely prescribed by MDN. Not, they are not designed by MDN. They have no authority to allocate these kind of responses codes for different actions. Okay, so these are actually, he's just trying to display what are, it's just like an article or maybe something like that, trying to explain you all the things, but these are actually defined in RFC 9110. Okay, so this is the official website, http://wg.org. Okay, working group, this is one kind of working group. They maintain the complete specifications. Okay, different standards, just like we have standards in PCB design, IPC 4552, IPC TM 650, IPC 600A. So many IPC standards, visual inspection, and to perform test methods for PCB, like a rose test. Uh, those who enrolled in PCB design course, they know about it. Like a tape test, there are so many things. So similarly here also there are some standards. So this is maintained in RFC 9110. This is the official website, specs, specification. Here you can find the complete information. Okay, so for each and every code there would be an there would be an explanation, a paragraph. So let's say if 206 is if the server written 206, what does it mean? If it returned 205, what does it mean? So for each and every number there would be a specific meaning. Okay, it's like a mapping. Every HTTP response code is mapped with some specific uh, uh, thing, specific description. Okay, so that you can check over there, but basically it is of total 5 categories. So why I'm telling you is like, this is very important to understand. Let's say you're trying to send some data to one web page. Okay, so you just know, you just do not blindly just send, use the command to send the data and you just sit back and relax. That's not allowed. You need to do revalidation. I mean, you need to recheck with the status code. Whenever you send any HTTP code or any data, or whenever you try to access any web page, any URL, any web page, so immediately it will also send you some data in return. Okay, what is that? It is nothing, nothing but we call it as HTTP response. You are trying to send some data and it is also sending you something back. This is something like, for example, if you might have seen that if you want to give some eatable items, some snacks or something like that to your neighborhood, you will pack those things in a box and you will give to them, and they will after uh, after taking them, then again they will wash the box and they will put something else, something like a sweet or something else, and again they will return back the box to you, right? So similarly like that here also, whenever you are trying to access some web page, or see, accessing web page in the other sense, you are also sending a request to the web page. Okay, so if you send a request, then only you will be able to access the response. I mean, you are sending a request, I want to visit the web page, then the website, the server will be providing you the suitable web page that you are trying to access. Corresponding web page will be displayed in the browser. So you know about this, you might have learned in your, even in your BTech, maybe in your first year as well. So client server relationship. Okay, so here also, whenever you send some data from your ESP32 to any API URL endpoint or API endpoint URL, so you should just not directly send the data, give the command to send the data and sit back and relax. What you need to do? Again, you need to check what is the response which is returned by the server. Okay, and you need to compare that with the HTTP response codes. If it is 200, let's assume if it return 200, then it means it is a successful response. Or else not on 200, it could be anything in between. We are having the categories, right? It could be any thing in the successful responses. Okay. And let's assume it is returning something like a 404 or some other thing, then you need to go back to those response codes and again do a quick check. What happened? Is it a server error, client error? For troubleshooting purpose. Now I hope you understood what's the role of this HTTP response code in transmission of data from ESP32 to the software. So basically this is actually hardware software integration. Is that clear up to here? Those who feel is it clear, please quickly react with emojis, then I will proceed. Quickly react with thumbs, at least for a few seconds, so that then I can jump into the next concept. I feel little bit energetic and I will jump into next concept. Ibrahim, is that clear? Ibrahim, okay. Kundan, is that clear, Kundan? Are you there, Kundan? Hello. Okay. I already told you, kindly please listen. Even if you neglected the previous sessions, I told you to listen this session attentively. If you miss today's session, I'm telling you that I don't explain you. Okay, if you don't understand, I'm not gonna explain you. Any questions you need to ask in the session only, for this session at least. Okay. So unless you listen attentively, you won't understand anything. If you don't understand, I am not responsible. Yeah. So these are the categories in the responses. And this is defined in the RFC 9110 specification. So now we will see different kinds of methods in which you are trying to send the data to any web page. Once you send the data to the web page, then the web page will return you the HTTP response. Okay. So to send that data, there are different methods: HTTP get method, put method, post, delete. So like that, so many methods are there. So today we'll be discussing about two famously used methods, that is get method and post method. So now I will ask one question, Sri Krishna. So whenever you are trying to search something in Google or else any search engine, you take whatever maybe a Bing or Yahoo, Yandex, whatever maybe. So when you are trying to search for something, so the keyword that you are trying to search, is it visible in the URL or is it not visible in the URL?
It is visible.
It is visible. So this particular method is actually, see here also you're transmitting the data. Okay. So in HTML we are having form tag. So form, there will be one attribute to form tag. Form method equal to get or post. I just don't know whether you remember that or not. Okay, keeping that aside, since we should not deviate from the main curriculum. So here also see this particular method in which the data that you're trying to access or that you're trying to transmit, if it is exposed in the URL, that particular method is actually get method. Okay. If the data that you're trying to transmit to the server, if it is exposed in the URL, that particular method is get method. Is that clear? But if you take post method, in post method what happens, data will be transmitted to the server, just like the functioning is very similar. Just like you exchange it, let's say I will show you. If I want to search for something like uh, see, if I just type Suchana space, if I just type Suchana space, see, I got the information. Suchana Space, also known as Suchana Space Expo, is an Indian aerospace and electronics startup founded by Hemant. The company specializes in indigenous aerospace research, model rocketry, satellite simulation, CubeSat design. The entire information I have got it. The company is headquartered in Greater Hyderabad and actively involved in pushing the boundaries of the local space exploration technology. They build and design the satellite models, all the information, whatever new electronics or collaboration. So I got everything, right? So now if you just check the URL, okay, keep the other things aside, okay, keep this thing aside. I'm just removing that for your easier understanding. See, focus on this part of the URL. Okay, this part of the URL. See, this is the actual end point. Okay, this is the end point. Okay. So after followed by question mark, if there's a question mark in the URL followed by something like this particular format, like key is equal to value, key value pairs. Okay, key value pairs. So this is nothing but get method. Okay, so this is nothing but get method. See, if I want to search for something without searching, see, actually if you want to search something, you will type here, right? So without typing here, directly I will search for something. See how I will be doing that. I'm just typing google.com slash search and question mark q is equal to now I will type something like anu electronics. See what I did, question mark. Okay, after question mark, then the get response, whatever the data that you're trying to search, or else whatever data that you want to transmit to the server, that can be placed after the question mark. So what is the format of placing the information? It should be in the form of key value pairs. Okay, key value pairs. So here key is the q and value is the anu electronics. Why q? Because this particular endpoint which is designed by Google is designed in such a way that whatever the information which is, whatever the value which is received under the variable, I mean under the key which is having q, that will be searched in the database of Google, and then the results will be shown in the web page. Okay, so that's why I'm using q. Now I'm pressing enter. Now see, automatically search results came, anu electronics, the first website. So this is nothing but get method. Is that clear? Are you now, you understood about get method? Is that clear? Okay. Now what is post method? See, post method, the functioning is same. What is the ultimate principle here in the HTTP methods is that you want to transmit some data to the server and you are doing that. Okay. But the way in which the way you are doing is a little bit different. The mechanism, the working mechanism is different. But ultimately, the main intention is to send the data to the server and server needs to receive the data. Okay, so now in the get method, data will be exposed in the URL, but whereas in the post method, data will be sent to the server but it is not exposed in the URL. Now we'll come back to one thing. You are trying to log in into your social media, let's say Instagram. Okay, you are trying to log in with your credentials, Instagram account. So have you ever observed that your credentials, let's assume like if your credentials are exposed in the URL, so is it okay for you, or is it dangerous if the credentials are exposed in the URL? Maybe let's say if I don't know about it, I want to share some Instagram page to someone. If I just copy the URL and I share with some random person, or else let's say I share with Ibrahim. Okay. So now if the credentials are exposed in the URL, he will scrap my credentials from the URL and he will try to access my account. So now among this get method and post method, what do you think is more preferable if you want to transmit some secure information? Which is more secure, get method or post method? Get method, no, get method is not secure because credentials are exposed in the URL. Post method is secure. Yeah, post method, because in get method your credentials are exposed in the URL, but whereas in the post method the data transmission will happen in the background, but it is not exposed in the URL. Okay, so data will be sent but not exposed in the URL. When you log in, when you are trying to log in into your Instagram account, your username and password, I mean your credentials are being transmitted to the Instagram server for verification whether the credentials are matching with their records, the actual password. Okay, but it is not directly visible in the URL, like www.instagram.com slash question mark username is equal to Ibrahim and password is equal to some blah blah blah. It is not like that. Okay, so but the data is transmitting. This particular method is called as post method. So is that clear? Now you understand the difference between get and post. Is that clear? If it's clear, then I will show you how to inspect the HTTP response code of any web page. Okay, and after this we will end today's session, and in tomorrow's session, or maybe tomorrow, if the I just don't know whether class is there or not, but in the next session we will be discussing about uh, how to send a get method. I mean we will be using some online tool to simulate, and there is something called webhook site. Using that, I will be simulating, I will be showing you how to send this get request and post request And everything we see in the next session. Today we are learning the theoretical part, and in the next session we'll be applying you with the help of the practical tools. You will be analyzing the HTTP response codes of the different web pages. You randomly, whatever the web page you want to choose, you can take that URL and you will be passing it to the tool, and tool will be analyzing the HTTP headers, and it will return the status code. Is that clear? So are you all excited for the next session, or is the session boring? Okay. So now we will jump into the next part. Okay. So now I will be showing you one tool which is nothing but HTTP response code or HTTP status code inspection tool. Okay. There are so many. If you just search for HTTP status code inspector, there will be so many tools available in Google. You can use any tool you want. So I will be showing you that thing, and I will be wrapping up the today's session. Okay. And fortunately I hope the video is being streamed in the YouTube, but I'm not sure, because sometimes this uh, let me check in the live session if it is being streamed or not. I'm not sure. Fortunately the recording is available, I think so. Yeah, I think recording is available. Okay, fine. So now I will be showing you the HTTP response status code inspection tool. Just search for HTTP response code check URL, or else HTTP response code or status code inspector. You will find so many tools. So this is one of the widely used HTTP status.io. You can simply open a new tab and you can type HTTP status.io. Okay, you will get this particular web page. Okay, so here you need to pass the URL. Let's say I'm passing the same URL. Okay, let's begin with okay, someone can just tell me what's the URL you want to check. Anyone, someone post whatever the URL that you want to check, I will show you. Okay, anyone, Ibrahim, you want to share any URL, or you just simply send me the name of the, let's say if you want to check for Google, send Google. I will say it. I will show you for Google or Sri Krishna, anyone. Which URL you want to me to inspect it? You want me to inspect YouTube? Fine. So I'm passing the URL. See, I told you that the redirection, right? I got, thank you for making me remind about YouTube. So how many of you know the shortcut URL to open YouTube? Anyone know the shortcut to open YouTube? No need to type youtube.com. What is the shortcut? Anyone know aware about it? Ibrahim, you know the shortcut to open YouTube? I'll show you. See, I told you that when redirection happens from one URL to another URL, it will return some redirection response, right? So I will be opening one web page. So the web page is yt.be. See, yt.be is shortcut to open YouTube. Okay, yt.be. See, automatically it redirected me to youtube.com. So it is shortcut. If you just type yt.be, it will redirect. It will take me to the YouTube. So now I think this is the best example for redirection, isn't it? So now I will be inspecting for both the things: HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. Is it having www, or is it only YT? I need to check with that. I think no www, no world wide web. Let me directly type yt.be. And one more thing you remember, sometimes if you are trying to inspect some web pages, okay, the inspector may show you some error. I mean, sometimes some for some certain URLs we cannot inspect. Okay, so why we are see, it's not a mistake from the inspector. So basically some servers will have protection. Okay, they will be having some firewall or board protection. They will be preventing online tools to access those web pages. Okay, this is to prevent scam. Some web pages may incorporate secure features. Okay, so in such a case it may return an error. Yeah, I'm checking for yt.be. So can just someone are you able to see the what is the response code I got over here? What's the response code I got over there? 301. What's the response code? Is it 301, right? The second one it is showing is like after redirection happened, it is showing the response code of the youtube.com. Okay, the second web page. This is for yt.be, this is for youtube.com. For both the things, it is showing response code. For yt.be, it's 301. Now again go back to MDN, Mozilla Developer Notes. From what we learned, let's compare if it's really, is it matching with our analogy or is it different? So it returned 301. Is it falling in the range of 300 to 399? Is it falling in the range of 300 to 399? Isn't it? Check this one, third category, redirection messages, uh, 300 to 399. So it returned 301 because if I just type yt.b, it is taking me to youtube.com. That means redirection is happening. See, those who don't know about these technical things, if you just open yt.b, it will take you youtube.com. That's what they know. But those who know about all these technical aspects, they know what's happening behind that, what's the background process going on. Okay, this is the troubleshooting inspection method. So is that clear? Now again, if I just directly type youtube.com, then I don't get 301. I will get 200. 200 means it's a successful message. See, successful. 300 means 300 to 303, 301, right? We got. So there are two different, moved permanently. I already told you redirection can be of two different types mostly. Permanent redirection and temporary redirection. It's a permanent redirection. Okay, we are not going into detail about the differentiation between them and all the stuff. For that, you need to enroll into another course where we will be explaining about uh, all these databases and everything. It's part of a programming course, that is a separate thing. Okay, so here you just type youtube.com, and now it is, we can expect the response 200. Okay, not 301, but he's also showing 301. So what could be the reason? Let's check that. So actually it is taking me from youtube.com to www.youtube.com. Okay, now I will type www dot, and I will add a path as well. Now I'll check status again. Now I got 200 only, no 301, no redirection. See, status code 200. Status message okay. You okay, I am okay. Client is okay, server is okay, all okay. That is the meaning of okay. You okay, I am okay. No issue. So all these are HTTP headers. You don't know about them. Enroll for another course where we will teach you what are these things. Okay, transfer encoding, chunked, set cookie, XSS cross-site scripting protection, and these are the reporting endpoints. So all these things, there is a separate course regarding to troubleshooting and networking HTTP headers, which is a little bit expensive. If you are interested, you can enroll into that. There we will teach you. But today we only will teaching you what is the HTTP response codes and different categories: informational, successful, redirectional, client side, server side errors, and how to inspect it, http status.io tool. And I have shown you the practical example for the redirection 301 message. So this is today's session, and in the next 2 minutes I will be taking questions from you. In these 2 minutes you can ask me any questions you have. If you don't have any questions, I will end up wrap up the today's session. The video is being streamed in the YouTube, and as soon as the session is over, link will be provided in the WhatsApp group by the team, and you can watch the recording. If you again want to uh, revise the session, you can watch the recording. And I definitely hope today's session is something informative than usual. And yeah, so now I will be taking questions from you. So now first I will be doing one thing. I know Shikarani is busy right now. Other than her, so whoever is not having any question, please raise your hand. Those who don't have any question, they can raise their hands. I think Kundan, okay. Sri Krishna has no questions. Ibrahim has no questions. I think Kundan has joined the meet, but he's not listening to the session. Okay. Okay, fine. So anyone want to share your feedback? Your feedback is being recorded in the YouTube. So Sri Krishna, you want to share any feedback regarding this course, ESP course?
Yeah, though you just said the course is about only on the embedded C and ESP, you're also explaining through the programming like databases and firebases. So that's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for joining today's session. This is your expert mentor Hemant from Suchna signing off. Bye bye. And in the next, don't miss the next session. Maybe the time and date and time will be posted in the group. So stay tuned. In the next session, we will be seeing how to integrate Arduino Cloud with ESP32. Most important session, most awaited session. So that is the complete knowledge. Okay. So in that we will be discussing about Arduino Cloud, how to integrate that, and exclusively if you want to know about Firebase. So actually it's not part of the curriculum. I'll try to explain if the team permits, our team permits. I'll request them if our team permits, I'll explain. Else there would be a separate course, I'm telling you, where we'll be teaching you the networking and everything. Okay, whatever content security policy, there are so many things you just even don't know. If you are opening a website, behind it so many things are happening, but you don't realize them. So everything is explained in a very easy way so that you can understand. We will do lab simulations, we will use so many tools, around 50 plus tools we will use for simulations, and the course will be going to be exciting. Those who are interested, you can enroll into that. Details will be posted by the team very soon, shortly. And moreover, those who enrolled into the Altium, 30-day PCB design challenge course for beginners using ECEDA, I request you kindly go with another course, Altium Designer for advanced one, a little bit advanced. Price would be little bit expensive. Don't think that it would be available at 299 because ECEDA is easy to use tool, and for that we charge 299. But for Altium Designer, price would be very high. I can repeat, it would be expensive one. And those who are interested, who are really interested to learn something new, they can enroll into the another courses where we'll be training you even in detail in a professional stand using the professional standards. I hope from the ECEDA course only you will be able to understand. Even it's a basic course, we explained you so many standards that no one will be teaching you. So I hope session is very exciting today and informative. This is your expert mentor from Hemant, expert mentor Hemant from Suchna, signing off. Bye bye. Thank you. Take care.